What are you looking at? Welcome back. Rammstein, a band that I am a big fan of. And it's been quite a while since I've spoken about them on the channel, so I thought, what better way to bring them back up again than do an album tier list. So Rammstein's consistency is exceptional, but not perfect. And we're going to get into all of it, obviously. So, let's begin. I'm going to do this in order of release, so we're going to start with Hertzeleid. Now, Hertzeleid, I think, is a very, very, very solid first album. Incredibly catchy songs, a really solid mission statement as a first album. That said, I do have some minor gripes with it. The production is not the greatest. It could kind of use a remaster, I think, or a re-recording maybe, if that's not a sin to say. I think it's a really good album, but it has been vastly outdone by virtually everything they've ever released after. There's none of the songs that really bother me or anything. It's just, production-wise, it's a bit thin, which would become very apparent very quickly in their discography. I by no means think it's a bad album, but for me, I'm going to put it, for now, I'm going to put it in A tier. I might come back to it, I might change my mind based on how we get on, but let's see.
Hey! Support channel! Like and subscribe! Support and become member! Or support on Buy Me Coffee and PayPal. Thank you!
So, Sehnsucht.
Sehnsucht versteckt sich wie ein Insekt.
Oh, this album is such a step up. You know, they say you have your whole life to write your first album, and only a couple of years to write your second. While that is obviously true, there's been so many examples over the years of bands that, in my opinion, really outdo themselves with their second album, and Rammstein is one of those bands. Sehnsucht is one of my favorite Rammstein albums, always has been, and I don't really ever see that changing, to be honest. It's the combination of the production being quite a step up and being good enough, and incredibly good songwriting. I love the industrial tone of it, and you know, that's kind of redundant to say with any Rammstein album. I think it's just better on the second album than the first one. It has some of my favorite Rammstein songs of all time, and I really feel like with this album it's when they properly figured out who/what Rammstein really is. You know, they obviously learnt a lot from the first album, and again, you make your second album, you know a lot more stuff than you did the first time. So, for me, Sehnsucht is absolutely S tier, no question. So, Mutter. This album, I think, is widely regarded as their best album, and while I wouldn't argue that it isn't a phenomenal album, I think I might have over-listened to it over the years, which is only a compliment, really. It's one of the albums I find myself going back to the least. I think basically what I need to do is give it a break for another 10 years and then come back to it. I mean, some of the singles on this album are some of their best ever songs. That said, I do feel like there is a little bit of filler on this album, but I will say tonally and production-wise, this is where they really hit. The production on Mutter is flawless, and when was it? Well, like 2001, I think Mutter was. A fantastic sounding album for the time, and you know, at this point they had really established themselves. They have some of their best music videos of all time from this album. I've kind of got mixed opinions about it, and I think that's more my fault than anything else. And this is all going by like gut instinct feeling as I'm doing this. I'm gonna put it A tier, but under Hertzeleid, because I think for some reason I just haven't over-listened to Hertzeleid. But Mutter I kind of have, but you wouldn't do that with an album that was bad, you know? So again, that's on me, not so much the album. Moving on to Reise Reise. Reise Reise I got when it came out. I also got Mutter when it came out. And it was a bit disappointing at the time, to be honest. And I remember listening to it quite a lot when it was new, and getting quite bored of it quite quickly. That said, over the years since, I have come back to it many times. I don't really have as many complaints about it as I used to. Maybe nostalgia's a thing for this album now with me, but there are some songs that I love deep cuts as well, not even just singles. But there are also other songs that I just find a bit meh and not really, they didn't really grip me in any serious way. It felt like a bit of a dip after Mutter. It felt a little less dark somehow, like less morbid in a way. In a way, when it came out, it felt a little bit bland. But at the time, what was that, 2004? You know, I was a teenager then. I didn't know my ass from my elbow. So I won't judge it from what I thought at the time. So now, I do really like it. It's one that I do go back to quite often because I haven't over-listened to it over the years. So I really appreciate it now. But is it as strong as Mutter? Man, I don't know. My gut right now is saying B. So I'm going to put it in B tier, and we'll have a look right at the end, and I'll see if I want to change my mind. Rosenrot. This one's interesting in a similar way to Reise Reise, and you know, this was basically B-sides from Reise Reise that didn't make it to the aforementioned album. And for the longest time, I really didn't listen to this album very much, because I don't know if I got it on CD. I don't think I would have. And over the years, you know, I've heard people say that it's their least favorite album and all this stuff, so I never really listened to it, but then out of curiosity, because obviously I'm a big Rammstein fan, so I want to really evaluate what is considered to be the worst album. And in the last few years, I've kind of realized it's not as bad as people say. It's not their best, by any means. There are some very good songs. It's just what I said about Mutter feeling like it has a little bit of filler. Unfortunately, Rosenrot feels like it's mostly filler with a few standout songs. But, you know, Rammstein filler is still Rammstein, so by no means bad. One of their albums has got to be lower than the rest, right? So I think that is going to have to go to Rosenrot. I think most people would agree with that. I do go back to it, again, because unlike with Mutter, I haven't over-listened to it over the years, so it's okay. It's just not the best. So, Liebe Ist Fur Alle da.
Liebe ist für alle da. Liebe ist für alle da.
This album I didn't listen to when it was new, but when I did finally get round to listening to it, I was amazed by this album. I was really shocked and felt like a dumbass that I'd taken so long to get round to listening to it. This is one of my favorite Rammstein albums. I think this is possibly the best sounding Rammstein album in terms of production. Like, it sounds expensive. I love Liebe Ist Fur Alle da. It has some of my favorite Rammstein songs of all time on it. With previous albums, it seemed like it was either heavy or mellow, song to song. You know, one heavy one sort of ballady one. Whereas with Liebe Ist Fur Alle da, they seemed like they'd nailed making something heavy and melodic in equal measure at the same time. And I really like that. I think that really works for Rammstein. I'm going to put Liebe Ist Fur Alle da in S tier. There's really nothing bad I can say about this album. I think the only thing I could really say is that it's a bit long. It's a really long album that I really enjoy. So, Now, the self-titled album. This album I was really hyped for, because it had been a long time since we'd heard any new Rammstein material, aside from Mainland. I was so excited for this album, and what I'm about to say is probably going to be on me again. Because I was so excited about it, it was a bit of a letdown. The singles were some of their best songs of all time, immediately identifiable as Rammstein, exactly what they should have been doing as a return to form, like Deutschland. The best music video of all time, and that is no hyperbole. There is no music video better than Deutschland, and there never will be. I got very mixed feelings about this one. The singles are so strong, and I can see why they were chosen as singles, but basically everything that isn't a single is kind of forgettable and kind of boring relative to the singles. The singles stand out so much, which is a real shame, and I take no pleasure in saying that. It's one of my least favourite Rammstein albums. In fact, struggling whether to put it in C or B, to be honest. I'm going to put it in B under Reise Reise, because the singles on it are so strong. If the singles weren't as strong as they are, it would be down in C tier, probably under Rosenrot. But because of those singles, Radio, come on.
Radio, mein Radio.
That elevates the album, but overall I think it drops off very, very quickly. It's very front-loaded, and because of that, it's a disappointment. Rosenrot is more consistent, but it's more consistently dull, if that makes sense. Zeit. This is a very interesting album. I saw this album, that's such a weird thing to say, but that's the fact of the matter, is that there was this launch party cinema experience thing where you went in for however long the album is, 40 minutes or whatever, and they had all the music videos and some visualizer stuff in the cinema, and it was really cool. I'd never had that experience with an album before. My only complaint of that event is that it was way too quiet, but there's probably, logistical reasons for that. So after the letdown that was the self-titled album, my hopes weren't as high. Having said that, this album blew me away and continues to do so. I think leading with the single Zeit was quite brave because, starting off with a sort of ballady song is unusual for Rammstein, I think. Over time, it has only gotten better, in my opinion. All the singles are solid. All the non-singles are also solid, like completely the opposite to the self-titled, where the single's really good, then it drops off and it's boring. Zeit, for me at least, is consistently excellent from beginning to end. There isn't really a dull moment. There's one or two songs that are a slight dip, but nothing major. And again, the production on this album is phenomenal. I love the amount of electronics on here. I've always loved it when Rammstein leans more into the electronic stuff. I think Flacker is the unsung hero of Rammstein, and he should be on every single song all the time, basically. The single's incredibly strong, the deep cut's incredibly strong. I have no complaints about Zeit. And also, again, the music videos on Zeit, chef's kiss. Amazing music videos. So, Zeit, it's going in S tier. I'm just now trying to decide where in S tier. I don't know. I'm gonna put it under Liebe Ist Fur Alle, just because I think it has less of a nostalgia factor than Liebe Ist Fur Alle, and certainly Sehnsucht. And nostalgia is very powerful. That's not the album's fault, it's just not been out for very long, but I do think it is as strong as those other two. So I'm just looking over this again, just to make sure that I'm right. Yeah, I got no problem with this. They have no album in D tier, as you can see. They have no bad album. A bad Rammstein album doesn't exist. So yeah, I think I'm happy with this tier list. What would you put in S tier? I'm guessing that most of you would agree that Rosenrot belongs where it belongs. Maybe there's some weirdos out there that think it's their best album. I doubt that though. And Mutter, I can see that being in A tier being quite contentious. But whatever, this is my tier list, not yours. If you disagree with me, then put your own tier list in the comment section and I will gladly tell you why you're wrong. So, if you're new to the channel, then consider subscribing, and if you're already subscribed, thank you for being here, thank you for watching, and I still have not thought of how to end videos yet. So, I'm gonna say, go away.